Okay, we can get started. Welcome to the December meeting of the Metro North Long Island Committee. I have three public speakers. First is Barry Adler.
Thank you very much. I'd like to speak on the Metro North 2012 operating budget in terms of service improvements that could be made at little or no cost. The Bronx is traditionally an area that Metro has not enough service provided by Metro North. We can do something about that by providing hourly train service at Melrose and Tremont, and bring that into line with the hourly service provided at every other Bronx station on the Harlem and Hudson lines in the off-peak. Also, for reverse commuters on the New Haven line, to give them access to the New Haven line from North Bronx stations, such as Woodlawn. Right now, if you're going to get to New Haven stations and Westchester or Connecticut, you have to either take a train down to Fordham or take a bus to or a subway to Mount Vernon East and get a train there. What you can do is amend the service agreement between the MTA and Connecticut DOT, so you can include that. It was put in 1977 when Fordham stops were initiated, and have additional off-peak, reverse peak train stop at Woodlawn. The reason this was not done originally was the catenary, third rail transfer was at Woodlawn. Now that has been moved to Pelham, there is no problem with acceleration of trains from that point of view, and I would appreciate if that could be done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, very much. Orrin Getz.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, members of the Board of Directors. My name is Orrin Getz. I'd like the first thing is request that the MTA Board and the Metro North Committee consider the allocation of this $20 million fund to restore some of the worst service cuts that occurred during June 2010. One of them is adding train 1600 back on the Pascack Valley line, which is very, very important, because without that train, people cannot get to work by 7 o'clock in the morning, which is critical to those going to the financial district. Another thing is, if you do restore this train, you're going to have to get the equipment up to Spring Valley to the Woodbine Engine Terminal. So we think you could work it out with New Jersey Transit that you could restore train 1639, the 655 train out of Hoboken that could run as a second express, which is urgently needed on the Pascack Valley line. So we really look forward to the MTA doing something to restore these cuts and give us a little bit better service that we deserve. I also have to give a big thanks to Metro North for its heroic effort in getting the service restored on the Port Jervis line. This is really an outstanding accomplishment, and we appreciate getting the service restored. But the work does have to continue, as former MTA chairman said, that we should bring the Port Jervis line up to a 21st century railroad. And in that respect, we should have it more double-tracked and upgraded signaling and higher speeds to really do the job effectively. I know you are doing continuous work on that line, but we do really need that double-tracking and the upgrading of the Port Jervis line. Also, one critical factor is a better way of serving Woodbury Common. This is a major factor that has to be considered. And I think in the short run, some sort of dedicated taxi and bus service to Woodbury Common is important. And also, a long-range plan of building a station at Woodbury Common is necessary. And I hope you move ahead the West of Hudson study so that that station can be built in the near future. And just one final thing, and that is Metro North has to start winning back some of its customers who they lost during the service outage on the Port Jervis line. And I think it would be not only a benefit to Metro North, but believe it or not, a benefit to Coach USA, your friendly competitor. because a lot of people switch to buses. They don't have enough buses, and a lot of their customers have been complaining in other areas they need better service. So if you can get your commuters back on the Port Jervis line, you'll be helping yourself and helping Coach USA. And I wish everybody a very, very happy holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker is Murray Bowden.
Well, I guess I have to reintroduce myself because I'm not the same guy that was here last month. I'm new. And I'm wearing this vest purely to symbolize how much things have to change. And I'm particularly interested, I wear this vest because state police, state troopers tend not to wear it, and this is symbolic. I was at the New York Thruway Board meeting on Monday, and I listened to the new chairman, and he raised questions about how contracts were issued, and a number of contracts went back for revision. There's a new thing going on. I've been involved with New Jersey, and Governor Christie stopped the ARC tunnel correctly. Governor Cuomo restarted the Tappan Zee correctly. And now it's my job to talk to you and your staffs about what needs to be done in the future and not to stand here and complain. At Tuesday's New Jersey Transit meeting, they changed the rules. They had public speakers speak before the meeting, and Jim Weinstein, the executive director, addressed each of the public comments individually before he gave his report. Each of the public speakers knew that there was a derailment up in Canada, and he said, we're on that. We've spoken to Bombardier. And there was a question about light rail line. He said, speak to Steve before you go, and he'll work with you and give you the answer. And what he did at the end of the public speaking was to diffuse all our comments. Now, there were two public speakers before me. It would be nice if the appropriate person would say, yes, we understand your problem, and we're going to have some, we already know about it, and we're working on it, or would you like to meet with somebody? Well, that's entirely different. That's the way we're going. We're in a newer game. My job will not be to stand here anymore and criticize anybody, but I will ask Howard if you could arrange for me to meet with a couple of your staff to discuss 3 problems that I have. It would be very helpful. I made that request at the Thruway meeting. By the way, regards from Virgil. New World. Virgil and I had a really nice conversation, a chat, which is something we've never had before. And when I spoke, he supported what I had to say. This is a new world out here. Mitch, if I had your email address, I'd send you blind copies so that you could know at least what I'm doing.
I thought you did.
What?
You had my email address because I was getting blind copies.
Well, but it got spammed out.
Oh, well, okay.
Actually, I'm meeting with Tom Madison on Thursday, and many years ago he had me spammed out. But that was then. Certainly. Some of you are going to hear me say this again at other meetings, but I'm here to just suggest that we need to think about projects in a new way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes the public speakers. We have the minutes of the November 14th meeting. Are there any comments or suggestions regarding the minutes? If not, motion to approve. Second, all in favor? Aye. Agency presidents reports, Long Island Railroad. Helena.
Good morning. I'd like to wish everyone happy holidays, and I'd like to thank Joe Loda, our chairman designee, for attending this morning. Joe, welcome. We're doing our president's report first, and this is Long Island Railroad's turn this month to go first. We had 3 items in our report that we wanted to cover. First, we wanted to just to update you on the initiation of our Quiet Car pilot program. On December 5th, we launched the new Quiet Car pilot program on the Far Rock branch. The customer response has been very positive. We have 4 morning and 6 evening rush hour trains that operate between Far Rockaway and Atlantic Terminal, and they've been designated as the Quiet Car. We will continue to monitor the results of the program and determine whether it can be expanded. My second item has to do with Long Island Railroad train time information. Scott Dietrich is just going to put up a couple of screenshots of what it looks like. Long Island Railroad has been trying to provide as much information to the public about train movements as they're occurring. And of course, with all the smartphone technology, everyone likes to, just call it right up on their phone and be able to determine the status of their train on their particular branch or line. We've launched a pilot program on the Port Washington branch to do, basically real-time information that is based on GPS. One of the reasons why we've started with Port Washington is because we operate the M7s on the Port Washington branch. M7s are equipped with GPS. We are looking to expand this beyond Port Washington to the rest of our branches, but it depends on our ability to use a portable GPS mechanism for the C3 diesel equipment and the M3s. We've been working with MTA Bus on a technology unit that they've put together to examine portable GPS for buses. There's applicability to the train, and we've been coordinating with them to pilot that program. And as we get those results, we'll be able to expand this database, which is the real-time train information. So, Scott, if you would just show what the screen looks like when people go to the link.
That's the first link you actually access when you get the train time application. The challenge we had with this app is actually we needed a source and a destination station to deal with all of our hubs that we have a lot of changes coming out of Canada and Europe. So when you access the app, you see this first screen. There's a survey on the right-hand side there that the customers can actually access. There's 3 questions that can be asked, answered, and we would take that feedback. There's also an FAQ capability on the screen that you can also find some facts about the application. So after accessing the initial application, you go to the source station that you're leaving from, and in this case it's Woodside. So this customer here is accessing Woodside and wants to know how to get to Port Washington. Puts in the Port Washington station, then presses next, the get train status. What returns is the next 2 hours of trains scheduled for that station. Also, you have on-time performance data. You also have combinations as far as connections, which you don't see there because there's nothing on that screenshot. And also the track information at Woodside. If you click down onto the Port Washington red aspect of that app, you can see each station on that Port Washington branch on where that train will stop. And that's basically the application in a nutshell. We are piloting on the Port Wash branch initially. We have built the application for the other branches, but as we expand the GPS to the fleet, we will get more granular, and also we are using signal timings too. And that's basically it.
And I would like to just thank the Long Island Railroad Commuter Council and Bill Henderson, Mark Epstein, for their contributions to this effort. That's one of the items that they've had as a longstanding request for more train time information that's available on smartphone applications. So we'll continue to update you on this pilot and our ability to expand it. Finally, in my report, I wanted to bring you up to date on our Fair Technology pilot program with Nokia. And if you turn to page 30, you'll see an information staff summary, as well as a number of diagrams and charts, a photo of the phone. I brought mine. It's a simple technology. And the goal, of course, is to promote smartphone solutions for onboard fare collection. As you know, last summer we worked on a ticket issuing device that allowed us to collect credit cards on board and issue receipts. This is the next generation of phone equipment. It contains what is known as near-field communication, something NFC that has been more prevalent in Europe. We actually are doing a pilot program with Nokia that is also being done by Nokia in Germany. and we're really the two pilot programs with NFC technology. The goal, of course, is to ask customers to tap in and then tap out. That's one type of pilot. The other will be the ability for people to have their credit card tapped when they're on board the train. And of course, this is all part of our new fare strategy. The MTA has been piloting a number of different initiatives. This is just one of them to try to determine the feasibility of the technology. There are lots of issues with distance-based fares that make tapping out and tapping in complicated, but we wanted to determine, does the technology work? So we have mounted these little sensors in various pilot locations, and all you're required to do if you're a member of our pilot team is just tap, and then it records it right into your phone. We are starting with employees, and then we are going to expand to 100 customers in a pilot group. When we expand to the customers, we'll actually have more of a back-end application to be able to match the taps-ins and the taps-out. If you have any questions, we're happy to answer them, and I also have staff if after the meeting you're interested in, just trying the phone. And that really is our report.
Any questions? Ira?
On Quiet Car, Community Council is concerned. We don't have a position just yet on it, but we're concerned about crowded trains. I know that's why Far Rockaway was picked. We have, just so people know, we have a member who rides the Far Rockaway branch. We've dispatched him to seek out these trains and ride and make observations. So I'll be reporting back about his observations. On the real time, I want to congratulate the railroad for moving quickly on that and doing that. But one of my problems with it is that when you go to the website and you look for a train, which I do, I don't ride a regular train, you won't get that information. It's in another part of the website, as I understand it. In other words, if I'm looking for a scheduled train, this is in a separate, it isn't integrated with the regular information. People looking for scheduled information won't get this information.
This is our pilot program. We're
Right.
just launching it, so
Okay.
you're right. You certainly couldn't have gone to our website to find this.
Okay.
It is a separate link. I'll make sure that you can see the link on the website when you go to the home page.
I mean, just at some
Yeah.
point, it'd be great to see
Right.
that all this information comes. So when you look for a train, you not only see when the train's supposed to leave, but its scheduled time, rather than having to go. I mean, there was information like this. There was a separate link to go to. You have to go to a station to see your train status, as opposed to the schedule information too. And we
Yeah.
discussed this. I think integrating this on the website at some point would be. I know this is a pilot, but that's
This is
one
just
of
a pilot. We're excited about being able to just provide, this ongoing information. Scott?
Yeah.
Yes, the train time application is actually built using those scheduled
Right.
web services that you're using right now.
Okay.
So in the future, we should be able to integrate that into one when it's fully blown.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? If not, Howard.
Okay. Good morning, and also wish everyone a happy and healthy holiday. Couple of things I wanted to cover this morning. Let me start with, I want to mention that last Thursday, December 15th, we had a very special performance that day. All our trains operated on time, both east and west of Hudson, so that's 729 trains. This is the first weekday this year we've had a perfect day. It is the fourth time we've had a perfect day. It is some point last year is the last time we were able to do it on a weekday when we have so many trains and so many different people on the train. So it's really a testament to the reliability of the service and by all the excellent teamwork across Metro North to make that happen. Similarly, just quickly on the Port Jervis line, on November 28th, we did return the line to service. Myself, Executive Director Joe Loda was there, along with our board, Jim Sidor, Carl Wartendijk, and Bob Bickford. We were all there to greet our customers. This came in, as you may recall, a month early at about half the price. The price in particular was due to both good work at Metro North as well as the good efforts at MTA Bus, who provided much of the bus service during that interim time period. And basically, one of the things I think that's very clear is that when the line was out, we saw what the impact was on a critical lifeline for Orange County, economic lifeline for the county. The degree to which people were concerned about that and bringing it back was a very positive thing for the county itself. We also got a number of very positive comments from our customers. They appreciated what we were able to accomplish. Some of the things they said that day were fantastic. Thank you, great job. This makes it so much easier. The crews were fantastic. My family's happier. I can get home earlier. So that was really positive. We're glad the line is up and running. It's running well. Obviously, it ran perfectly last Thursday. The performance has been excellent, and we will finish up that project over the next 6 months. I do want to just quickly on operations point out a couple of things for you. One is that the on-time performance in November was 97.3%, so that's better than we had been doing. We've also, with regard to consensus compliance, we've been able to move that up. In November, it was 99.5%. And most importantly, on the New Haven line, where we have struggled the last years, and it's really about 10 to 15 years, we're now up to over 98% in both the AM and PM peaks. In large part, that is due to the not only the, well, it's due to two things: the improved maintenance, what our maintenance forces are able to do, and the new M8s coming. We now have about 60 of them in service. Very quickly on ridership, was up about 2% in November. East of Hudson is growing very rapidly. It's now up 3%, and we had some terrific statistics I'll share with you over for the Thanksgiving period in early December, the holiday period, which is our period of heaviest travel, particularly our discretionary travel. So Thanksgiving Day was up 8%. Well, first, the whole weekend was up 6% since last year. This is the highest we've ever had in the history of Metro North for this weekend. This Thanksgiving Day was up 8%. We had 15,000 people coming to the parade. That was an increase of 20%. We've also had, during December, very large increases in ridership on the weekends. So as of right now, we were up 11% over 2010. We were up 5%, and that's on top of 2010. It was a significant increase. 5% on Saturdays, 19% on Sundays, and actually on Sunday, December 11th, ridership was up 34% from the previous year. So that is an enormous jump in ridership. This is our highest weekend ridership we have ever had on Metro North, and in my view, it's really due to three things. One is it's the value created by Metro North that people recognize, combined with we've had good weather and also the improving economy. And those three things together are now driving this large surge in ridership. Also, we opened, in conjunction with Governor Malloy and the state of Connecticut, we opened Fairfield Metro Station on December 9th. This will provide improved access to Metro North in a key growing area. It will have 1,400 parking spaces. This is an area where you're on waiting list for 5 to 10 years for a parking space. So we think this will also further increase ridership. Also, interestingly, it's the first new mainline New Haven line station over 100 years. And so these things don't come along too frequently.
Hopefully not the last. For
No, there's
100
another.
years.
Connecticut's building
Right.
another one, so that'll be in another year. Right. With regard to, right, I know what you're referring to. On regard to the quiet cars, on January 9th, we are going to also expand our program, what we call commute, to the New Haven line. We'll have 18 trains. It's a test over there. You may recall doing it on the Harlem and Hudson lines. This will be on January 9th. The program was, we did do our survey. We put our program in on the Harlem and Hudson lines in October. We completed our survey. People are extremely happy. 90% of the people were satisfied with the program. 82% thought it should be expanded. So again, the New Haven program will be the same as the Harlem and Hudson. It'll be the last car into Grand Central, the first car out. We will monitor this and look to possibly further expanding it across the system in 2012. Also mention that this Saturday, for the first time, we're going to operate our New Haven line football train to the Giant Jets game. We've never been able to do it on a Saturday, so we'll be doing it this Saturday for that game. Right. Well, one of them will win.
That's right.
That we know.
That we know. Unlike yesterday.
That's right. One of them will win, unless it's a tie, of course. Also to mention, we did distribute for people. We have ready for our winter weather guide. It's up on the internet, so we have a plan for that. So we're ready for the coming winter, and it's fully described to our customers. And this little brochure we have will be out on our trains over the next few days, so people will be aware. And finally, there will be on January 1st the fare increase that the state of Connecticut approved, which is a 5.3% increase, will go into effect for travel in two places. One is Connecticut to New York, all the stations, all the tickets. In addition, for Rye and Portchester, there will be a fare adjustment there as well. Now, just to remind everybody of this, these adjustments were approved by the board last year, but we had to phase the implementation because the fare of Greenwich was too low. And if we had raised the fare in Rye and Portchester to what was approved, it would have been higher than Greenwich. And you can't have a circumstance where people pay less for traveling longer. So we're now going to raise those fares. Last year, whenever all the New York State stations on both railroads went up an average of 8.9%, these stations went up 6%. So now we'll be raising them 2.9% to basically catch up to what would have been done last year. So that's my report. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Jim?
Howard, getting back to your tremendous ridership increases that were, I know that I've for about the last 6 months visited the Beacon Station on Saturday and Sundays, and it just reverberates back to me that when I came on this board 17 years ago, I was told that parking was the lifeblood of the railroad. And I can tell you that when we have people looking for parking places in Beacon on Saturdays and Sundays, it just reiterates that point. The place is packed. I know it's free, but it's packed, and people are trying to find parking places, and that's how we get ridership, by having parking so that they can go on the railroad.
Right, you're absolutely right. And that's a critical station since so many people come from both sides of the river.
Susan?
Not a question, Howard. A thanks for a phenomenal effort from the entire Metro-North staff of getting Port Jervis Line back on track. I'm speaking as a resident of Orange County rather than a board member.
Right.
I also want to thank the whole MTA family, especially MTA Bus. Seems strange not to have a lot of MTA buses in the county at the moment, but boy, we sure appreciated them when they were there.
We hope they're not coming back for a while.
We certainly do. I also want to thank the fellow board members that I have for a phenomenal amount of support. Many of you traveled that extra mile out to my county. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all the encouragement, and it was a job well done. Mr. Getz suggested that we continue the work. I noticed this past end of the week that we still have crews there. The final work is still continuing. It really looks terrific, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Carl?
Yeah, I'd like to second what Susan just said, and I also want to say kudos to Howard for a presentation that was just spectacular. You could hear a pin drop in the room the whole time, and it lasted about a half an hour, and it was so good that there were only about 2 questions at the end. He covered everything, and I think everybody was very satisfied. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Howard.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the Metro North report?
Oh, wait, one thing.
Yes.
So, Commissioner Balin did point out to me that the NFL, you can't have a tie.
Cannot have it. Oh, well, you can if at regular season. Well, yes. Hopefully, we won't get that far. Okay. Michael, Capital Construction.
Yes, actually, I would like to start. I'm sorry. I would like to start on a sad note. I would like to observe a moment of silence. Last month, we have lost a sandhog. It is the first time that, just in the recent history, that one of our employees, it's a contractor employee, was at the wrong time, at the wrong spot, and he was killed. A young man, about 24 or 25 years old. So just a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Well, good morning again, and happy holidays and a happy new year to come. I would like to briefly discuss the East Side Access and where we are today. Last time around, I was hoping to finish the first tunnel in the yards, in the Sunnyside yards, was Tunnel A. I was hoping to report that is before this meeting. It will be on Wednesday, the 21st, and we expect then to move the machine in the launching box and start the next tunnel. That will happen early in the year. Some of the so the relaunching we hope that to be sometime in March. This is the green pieces are the ones that have been completed. The yard lead, that is the longest one to the right of the picture, is advancing well, and we expect to complete that work early in 2012 as well. The Western Cavern, I'm sorry, this is the early access chamber for the Northern Boulevard. This is probably the most complex and risky contract that we're undertaking to dig about 120 feet under Northern Boulevard, and we're starting right now. The freezing has been completed, and we're starting excavation probably late this month, early January. The Eastern Cavern, we are completing. We started to do the pouring of the arches, and at the same time, because we were able to do so, we started to blast at the same time. So that work continues well. The work on the this is the concrete pours. The Western Cavern, we have now the last pour, and we're starting the blasting as well. Actually, it started, and we expect that to move swiftly. As well, we started to install the rebars and the inverts of the wellway. This is wellway number 3. Some of you that have been there have seen how the work progressed. And then what I would like to mention is that you can take that down. The concrete operations continue. The 44th Street vent plan is the one that you can see on 44th Street between us and the Yale Club. And that's moving well. We will start steel erection probably right as we speak. The work at 245 Park Avenue, the new entrance across the street, is also continuing well, and the escalator is in place. We'll be installing the granite panels, and that will be open probably in February. The 50th Street vent plant continues production blasting for the shaft, and we start preparation for the permanent concrete of the structure. We had a kickoff meeting with Yonkers for the finishes, the permanent finishes within the Medicine Yard for the future Long Island Railroad concourse, and this is on the southern end, and that's going ahead. And 55th Street contract that is going to have an underground vent plant on the 55th Street. We expect to open bids late January. I don't remember the exact date, but it's a budget. And in effect, that's about it for East Side Access.
Any questions for Michael? Ira?
Yes. Last month I had mentioned the concern about the increase in accidents on East Side Access. Have you gotten any progress in determining the cause of?
I have I just do not know the causes of the accident that occurred last month. And I would not want to speculate.
No, not that one. I mean, it's the higher incidence of accidents I'm talking about, the statistical issue. There's just the higher, it's above average, and it's been that way for several months.
Yes, particularly in the cavern on the 019 for the Drogado Jadlow project, and we try to look because they are making efforts in trying to improve their safety record. And I hope that what we're doing right now will achieve that. We're in negotiations with them to kind of restructure the work. My belief is that they fell behind, and this is just my
Conjecture.
yes, that they fell behind and they started to work in a lot of locations at the same time. It's not easy to do that when you have 800 people or 850 people working at the same time, one on top of the other. You may create problems, and I think that that was one of the reasons. There are many others that have been addressed since. The latest accident has really nothing to do with that. It's just something that happened and was not, is one of those things that the person was there. But we are very seriously looking at that, and we hope to be able to improve the record as we go forward. I've had discussions with the president of Drogados, and I'm certain that he heard me loud and clear.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Michael? If not, Chief,
Good morning.
police report.
Unfortunately, in November, we did have a spike in crime, 30 incidents versus 16. We had 8 robberies versus 4, although one of those will be reclassified as a false report, and we had 20 larcenies versus 12. Year to date, we've had 68 robberies versus 51. We have closed 30 of those by arresting 33 individuals. In the East, we had a robbery in November at Jamaica. It was a force case. We did make an arrest by patrol on the scene. Laurelton, we had a force with a weapon displayed. An electronic device was stolen. We have prepared a sketch, and that was distributed to my officers as well as the NYPD. On the north end, we had 5 versus 1, although, as I mentioned, 1 will be reclassified as a false report. We had 1 on 125th Street where cash was stolen and a weapon was displayed. We made an arrest on the scene by patrol. We had an incident in Marble Hill, which was force. A phone was stolen, and 1 at Fordham where a phone was stolen. We've had a couple incidents at Fordham this year. We have met with Fordham Prep, speaking with the administrators there as well as the security, in discussing the kids who go to school there and, the actions that they should take to avoid these events. We've met with them twice. We had an incident at Botanical Gardens where a weapon was displayed. We have some excellent video on that. We have a wanted poster that we prepared. We know where the phone was sold, and we're working with the NYPD. We believe that they have a related case as well at a transit stop with the same individuals. And then we, as I mentioned, the one at Mount Vernon, that's going to be a false incident, and I thank Metro North for the video, which proved that the actions that the woman mentioned did not, in fact, take place. The 20 larcenies, 19 of those were either in Long Island Railroad or Metro North. 1 was in Staten Island. Of those, 8 of those were metal-related, 7 copper, 1 aluminum. We did make 1 arrest on the copper, in which we closed out that case, and then 3 cases which happened earlier in the year. We had 3 credit card cases. We did make 1 arrest on those. We had 2 wallets stolen. Two of the thefts were from stores, 2 equipment. 1 was property in excess of $1,000, and 1 laptop. Just to mention, out of those 19, only 2 of those actually happened on train. The others were on other properties in which we own. I had mentioned before in a conference call starting in January, we will add the arrest statistics to the committee book. If anyone has any questions.
Chuck, do you discern an increase in the copper thefts?
Copper thefts are running about on par with where they were last year. It seems when copper goes up, the thefts go up.
That, like the squeegee men, is a precursor of serious problems.
Exactly. Yeah. We're very aggressive with it with the yards. We set up video surveillance as well as plainclothes surveillance, and we visit those yards. As I said, we with the arrest that we made, we were actually on the scene, and we made that arrest, and then we closed out other cases.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Agency information and action items. The committee work plan is on pages 27 and 28 for the upcoming year. Are there any questions from any of the board members regarding the work plan? If not, Helena, we already did the Nokia phone pilot, so we're into number 2, Long Island Railroad Action Item 2012, final proposed budget.
Yes, and that appears on page 36 of the book. That's Long Island Railroad's 2012 budget, and it conforms to the information that was provided last month. Any questions?
Are there any questions?
Very happy
Chuck?
to take them.
I'd like to call your attention to pages 38, 39, and 40. You there indicate a decline, a decrease in overtime to a point less than occurred in 2010 and 2011. And my question to you is, are those numbers realistic? Because I don't believe they are.
Mark, go ahead.
Good morning. I believe they are. As you know, we've reported on overtime quite extensively over the last few years. I think the Long Island Railroad has demonstrated its success in the last several years on overtime reduction. You might recall in 2010, overtime dropped by over 12% in terms of hours worked. That was a lot of effort on the part of a great deal of staff at the Long Island Railroad. I think if you look at one of the reasons why the number looks so low compared to the current year is because in this year we did have a series of, as you know, several unforeseen events that have driven the numbers quite high, including the weather events. Going forward, over the last several years, we've implemented several overtime reduction initiatives that will have recurring value. I'll note we had a series of a surge of attritions and retirements in the last 1 or 2 years. Our hiring plan has caught up to that now. We have several availability initiatives that will be in full place in 2012. So I think we're very ambitious about achieving these overtime reduction targets, and I think the railroad has taken that to heart.
My focus isn't on the 2011 figures. Take a look at the 2010 figures. You are way below the 2010 figures. You think that you can achieve that?
Yes.
I'd be looking forward to checking that. Let me raise with you another question. I asked at the October CPOC meeting a question concerning increased delays and if the labor reductions, the force reductions, was a precipitating factor or a contributing factor to those delays. I received a memo back which focused on trains, on the equipment, rather than on the reduction in maintenance forces. And my point and question is this. There is a continued decline in the proposed maintenance work staff that you've had for quite a while. At the same time, you have delays by reason of maintenance of equipment and the like. And my question is, aren't the two matched? If you keep reducing the maintenance, you're going to continue to have problems, I would think.
Could you repeat the original question again?
The question is, you seem to be reducing the number of people who work on maintaining equipment. Number one. Number two, you cite as a reason for delays the fact that the equipment is breaking down or that there are concerns relating to the equipment. And my question is, can you not necessarily have those kind of problems if you continue to reduce the number of people maintaining the equipment?
We work very closely with our maintenance of equipment department when we develop our financial plan. The staffing levels are driven largely by the work cycles of regular cyclical replacements of parts that we've determined and components that have various life cycles. In addition, we budget staffing based on anticipated running repair, unanticipated repairs. We've worked very closely. As you know, our MDBF numbers for the fleet have been strong this year. We anticipate that continuing in 2012. Our operating goals are the same. And again, we've worked very closely with the Maintenance of Equipment Department, and we're jointly confident that we can achieve those targets with the staffing levels and funding we have.
And Mark, I'm going to ask Mike Gelomino, my Senior VP of Operations, to address it, because Mike, of course, was my Chief Mechanical Officer when this budget was prepared.
Good morning. In fact, the mechanical delays in 2011 are less than 2010, and that is reflected in the book. As far as staff cut, reductions in the maintenance of equipment department, as far as a total head count, there were no reductions as a product of total head count. The reductions were in overtime hours. In maintenance of equipment, you have tasks, and you need a certain amount of hours to get those tasks done. We substituted straight time hours for overtime hours. Total work is the same. But if you look at the book, the total delays are actually less in 2011 than they were in 2010, and I think the number is 140.
I hope you're right.
Any other questions
Thank
for
goodness I
Helena
read
or
Metro
staff?
North.
Ira?
Yes. I know we had been discussing changing the the policy regarding returning tickets or the expiration of tickets, and I'm just wondering if there's. I also had asked for the financial data on that. Was how much revenue do we have in addition each year because of this the change in policy we did the last.
We are
Fair.
working with the MTA Fair Collection Fair Policy Group to take a look at those numbers, and we're looking at them for both Metro North and Long Island Railroad. That report isn't complete yet, but we will be bringing it to this committee just to update you on what do we think has been the impact of the ticket validity period and the refund processing fee. So we will be back to you probably in January on that.
Just at the Long Island Railroad Community Council, Meet the Council at Penn Station, which I attended, that seemed to be when I walked up to people, that seemed to be the single biggest complaint of passengers.
Commissioner, I will attest to the fact that I get a great deal of correspondence on the issue of ticket validity and the processing fee.
Thank you.
And a number of calls from me on the issue all the time.
And I will attest to that.
Jim?
Is this similarly being considered by Metro North?
Yes.
We're part of the same effort that Helena just described.
Any other questions? Jim?
Not particularly on the operating budget, but just a general question on the capital budget, which of course is going to be approved for resubmission to the CPRB. There was an across-the-board cut of 9% for both agencies, and the numbers foot to that reduced amount. My question is whether, for purposes of understanding the all agents, capital project expenditures that are in the book, whether it was just whether those projects were just basically all cut back that percentage amount, or was it done specifically by item?
My sense is that the 9% is a target that we need to meet through any means possible, and it can be a combination of, greater efficiencies as we work, for example, on component replacement at stations as opposed to a complete station renovation. We're working on greater efficiencies in the car procurement. That's why we have the Oliver Wyman contract. So there's a couple of, opportunities, one in which we're exploring aggressively a design build model for bridges that we need to replace, and that would be new for us to do a design build. We think that there are efficiencies that we can gain that will produce savings. And we will work hard to try to identify, those numbers. At the end of the day, the dollars will be set in this financing plan, and we may have to look at the scope of certain projects, but that's not the goal in the first instance. Howard, I didn't know if you wanted to address that.
No, I think what Helena described is correct. Just speaking now of the capital program, Jim, not the budget. Yeah. Right. I think that Helena described exactly what the process is. We will be looking to try to reach that target. That some of them will be extremely difficult to do. And in the end of the day, as you say, we have to make the financial target, and if we can't do it with efficiencies, then we'll be looking at program and project deferrals.
Yeah, okay, just...
Excuse me, I have one.
Jim?
Since it's been put on the table, I guess my question is that those targets of 9%, were they a process of coordination with the various agencies to arrive at a number that was reachable? Or are we just thrown a number and said, okay, you got to do it?
Well, I think actually the certain MTA staff wanted to be more aggressive, and Howard and I were fairly strong because we spend a lot of time at the agency level trying to make sure that we do have good estimates. So we're at the 9% number. We're going to have to monitor this very closely as we go forward project by project. Of course, the MTA's goal is to get as much out of the capital program as possible. We recognize that. At the same time, we want to make sure we're delivering a project, that is maintainable, that is built, according to a design standard.
Yeah, and I think I would echo exactly the same thing. I mean, we have a host of things we're doing to try to save money on efficiencies. But again, at the end of the day, you have to look at the specific project involved, how much we budgeted for it. Not everybody, I'll give you just one Metro North example. We, in track work, unlike, for example, other agencies will have more substitute service, we don't do as much substitute service. So I can't modify that the same as somebody else because the circumstance may be different. So we have other issues that possibly where there's an opportunity on Metro North, which doesn't exist elsewhere. So it has to be specific to the agency and to the project at hand to really say, here's what we can save. So we'll do the best we can. We have, I think Elena said it right, it's a target. And if we can't do it, then we have to face other ways of making the financial, how much money is available.
Any other questions? This is a motion to move the Long Island Railroad budget to finance, where it will be discussed, I'm sure, in detail with all the other budgets this morning, or this afternoon, whenever we get to it. Whenever we get to it. Jim, motion second. All in favor to move it to finance? Aye. Howard, Metro North budget?
Similarly, so we have our budget in here for approval. This is the same as what you saw in November. It meets the MTA targets. We have in it a number of initiatives that we talk about. And the goal, we will manage to the target again, and hopefully where we're able to save some money, we'll also be looking to reinvest it where we can to continue to improve the service. Be happy to answer any questions.
Chuck, sorry.
Back to maintenance. If you will look at pages 53 and 54, you have proposed that, as contrasted with $130 million, if I read that number correctly, for 2010, you're going to reduce it to 122 in maintenance for 2012, 112 million for 2013, and downward from there. My point,
Chuck, what page are you on?
I'm on page 53.
53, non-labor maintenance and other operating contracts. If that's the line you're discussing.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
It's going from, 130, then
In
it's going up.
2010.
Right.
2011, I'm sorry?
No, just let him finish, Kim. Let him. You're asking why the variation, Chuck?
I'm asking how you can continue to maintain the service. I'm using 2010 rather than 2011 because in 2011 you had extraordinary circumstances. But I'm trying to figure out how you can estimate a reduction in maintenance costs and still provide on-time service.
Okay, Kim, can you explain why those numbers are changing?
Yes. There is not an overall reduction in any level of maintenance of our fleet and equipment. Actually, what you're seeing is that there may be some completions of Genesis locomotive overhauls that have had a higher level in previous year and are completing in 2012. On an overall basis, we are maintaining the fleet maintenance and reliability. We are actually We're also completing the M3 M3 CSR program as well. So it's timing in terms of some of the programs that are wrapping up, and we are going to be integrating and bringing on the M8 fleet. So it's an emphasis on maintenance and equipment and integration of the M8.
So let me just truck to, there's a very important point that there are many maintenance programs that are one-time programs that are affecting this number. The basic level of maintenance that we will be doing across the fleet will be the same.
All right. Let me just, while I'm on that, let me ask, if I may, Mr.
Go right ahead,
Chairman,
sir.
one other question. As I understand it, there are significant portions of the nighttime when Metro North is not operating passenger traffic. Is that correct?
No.
Can you do work at night then?
Well, first, let me just clarify. So the answer is that Metro North operates passenger trains 24 hours a day. When the last train gets to the outlying point, the first trains in the morning are leaving. So we're always running. In addition to that, Amtrak trains run all night. We run non-revenue trains all night to move equipment between terminals, and freight trains run all night. So we are operating, it's a 24/7 operation. With regard to your point, we do a lot of our work at night. And so much of our track work, much of the work that would affect the reliability of passenger service is actually done overnight because it's the only time you can do it.
Okay.
Any other questions on the Metro North budget? We have a motion to move the Metro North budget to finance. Second. All in favor? Okay. Procurements. Long Island Railroad, page 60. Talina.
Okay, and our non-competitive procurement start on page 6. Oops, thank you. Start on page 65. There are two items in the non-competitive section in the amount of $7.7 million. The two contracts involve important equipment for the Long Island Railroad and Metro North. The first is a sole source contract to Invent Systems Rail Corporation, which provides critical grade crossing mechanisms, and this is a safety factor for both railroads. The second is a contract to Solari Corporation for 24/7 on-call remedial and preventive maintenance and repair of the Solari signage system, which is located at Penn, Jamaica Atlantic Terminal, and the visual information system located at Grand Central. And we ask for a vote on these items.
Questions? Chuck.
On both Inverness and Solari, they both involve proprietary software, and that is a reason why they are sole sourced. My question to you is, has any consideration been given to providing in procurement contracts that where software is involved at the end of the term, they either make the software available at a reduced number, or that we get a license? Because we keep doing sole sourcing throughout the year that I've been on this board, based primarily on the fact that there is proprietary software involved. And it seems to me that at the end of these contracts, we either ought to get a license so somebody else can compete for it, or we ought to get some assurance that it will be made available irrespective of the contract. This is what's costing us huge numbers.
That is something that we do work, both procurement departments try to coordinate and determine whether whether it does make sense when we acquire new systems to get a license for the software. And that tends to be, the trend going forward. But I do want to point out that there are, obstacles with that. It can affect the pricing. It can affect the number of willing, competitive bidders. And also it adds the issue for us of making sure we have the expertise to be able to go in and use somebody else's software, understand their coding, and make ongoing upgrades to the software, which in and of itself can be complicated even when the software is available to you. So we recognize that it certainly is a an option that we need to explore as we go forward, but it is a difficult one. Many companies don't want to provide their proprietary software.
Of course they don't. They have as a result of it, they either get a quasi-monopoly or they have an assurance of a renewed contract. If we are going to have competition, if we're going to have the development of business and job opportunities in this state, we need to have competition. This is anti-competitive. It's got to stop.
I think we all agree. John?
Yeah, thank you. Again, also as a relatively new board member, just I think, I just want to repeat Chuck's remarks. I think I agree with them. I'm sure a lot of us do. But for my educational purposes, when was the original Invensys rail contract and the Solari Corporation contracts entered into, please? And if you don't have that handy, if you could send me an email.
It's not in there. We would send that to you. I'm just looking to see. Dennis, is there any chance that you would have that information?
Yeah, okay. I'm just trying to, really in support of what Chuck and some of us have been asking over the last couple months at least, and probably before that, before I was on. I'm trying to see the history of when these contracts were entered into so I can just provide more factual background to what Chuck was talking about and what we have talked about on the side, Howard, actually, when these contracts are entered into, with the goal that as we can have more competitive renewals, extensions, replacements, repairs, and the like. And then with respect to the rest of it, I'm not going to micromanage the discount negotiations, but they don't seem so extraordinarily high, a 7% discount and the like. Thank you.
Could I ask, from now on in the staff summaries, if it is an extension of a contract, can you include the history of the contract in the staff summary so that we can see it at all times? That would be helpful. When the original contract was entered into and whether there were any extensions over the period of time before today's or before the vote we were taking on that point. That would be helpful. Thank you.
And then people
Thank you.
can read it ahead of time.
Right.
Maybe some of their questions.
Right, because
Right.
if you have the information, at least then you can look at it. Pat, did you?
I was just going to briefly echo the comments of my colleague from the Bronx. However, adding that taking away the profitability on the razor blade part of the business will likely lead to increased prices for the razor up front, and probably a significant or a review of the issue of OEM as it relates to IT is probably appropriate. It's a complicated issue, but I do, in substance, echo Chuck's point.
Jim?
Adding to that, to the general discussion on this, I would mention the provision in the Invensys write-up that refers to most favored nation treatment for this contract, which, in a sense, I think gives us some protection, because if a like contract is negotiated on better terms by other users of the product, we get the benefit of that. So you to a certain extent mitigate the problems that arise with the sole source issue.
Thank you.
And if that were made a standard part of our process in sole source, it might be a useful thing to do.
Yes, I agree. I also want to, Helena, acknowledge, or at least have you acknowledge, the fact that the Solari contract is not, to the Long Island, is not just for maintenance. It's also, there's wording in here with regard to replacement of the existing system with a new system at the various terminals, or different aspects of a new system.
Yes, that's correct, as part of, keeping current with the technology.
Right, so we will actually get improvements in the system, not just maintenance of the
Right.
existing system. Okay.
That's correct.
Any other questions on these two items? Motion to approve? Second? All in favor? Aye. Okay, competitive, Long Island Railroad.
And there are 5 competitive proposals in this month's package. 3 actually request the board to approve adoptions of resolutions to declare competitive bidding impractical. Let me do those 3 first, and then I'll go to the competitive procurements. The 3 involve the first, car procurement, the second, positive train control systems, and third, substations at Hillside and Kew Gardens. Each one asks the board to recognize that we would be in a better competitive position if we go with the request for proposal opportunity for each one. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those on those 3 proposals.
Jim?
Helena, I wanted to ask on the proposal to on page 73. On positive train control, we're doing a kind of a carve out in this proposal to account or take account of the fact that there is a large percentage of the Long Island network or system which is ABS, and you've got dark territory as well.
Right.
The system that is being put in place is going to be jury-rigged to account for that. And my question is whether we are kind of enshrining this ABS and to a certain extent the dark as well by virtue of this, and how much of a cost differential would there be to, let's say, fixing the ABS situation so that you then could have a PTS system that would be straight across the board?
You know, that's a perceptive comment about the state of our signal technology. Just for the benefit of everybody else, Jim is referring to, you know, our automatic block system and the fact that we have major segments of our territory that is actually unsignalized. I do want to point out that as a separate capital program, we are moving toward track circuits from Spionk to Montauk. That will be a separate capital program item. We'll bring track circuits in, which will allow then PTC to be an overlay to that system. With regard to Ronkonkoma to Greenport, we currently have dark territory under the PTC plan, implementation plan. We are moving for a mainline track exclusion, which will be based on temporal separation of freight and our passenger service. However, we are recognizing at the Long Island Railroad, and I've begun discussions about what we need to do to bring that territory up to a track circuit standard as well, so that we can have a PTC overlay. One of the problems with the mainline track exclusion is it really depends on not increasing passenger service, which is clearly not my goal for the growth that Suffolk County, I think, should be embracing in the future. It also depends on not having growth in freight, which is counter to the goal that we want, which is supporting, a more national freight system movements out to Long Island. So we need to move forward in track circuits for the main line. We're already doing that on the Babylon branch out to Montauk, the Montauk branch. On the ABS, we do feel that we could have a fully integrated system using those track circuits to support positive train control. And we have worked very hard to make sure it is an integrated system. That's the precursor to the work that you see here in today's staff summary. But we all recognize PTC needs pilot program testing. We need to ensure that the Access 2 system will be readily available as the technology improves. And that's part of our, you've heard us repeat this, it's our refrain about positive train control, that the industry itself would be better served if the date for compliance were extended by Congress. Right now, we face a December 2015 date. It is not adequate for perfecting the technology issues that legacy railroads like myself and Metro North face. We're working very hard on a congressional initiative to get that date extended, and that will enable us to, I think, get better technology solutions. But you're recognizing the complications of our system.
Chuck?
Back to my issue of competitive activity. It's my understanding that between Long Island Railroad and Metro North, over the course of the past decade or more, the current system of bidding has facilitated Kawasaki being, together with Bombardier, for some period of years, the only providers of railroad cars. That's the premise. If it's wrong, let me know. My concern here is the following. This system of bidding raises questions. Let me give you a contrast system that's used by the construction division, under which they are able to negotiate after the RFP brings in a number. We seem to attract a relatively few number of bidders for this process. According to the American Public Transportation Association, there are a significant number of people building cars across the country, but we don't seem to be doing anything to attract anybody other than Kawasaki. That's troublesome to me.
We are embracing in a major outreach to car manufacturers for this procurement. We have already had RFEI sessions, where we've asked them to come in, hear what our proposals are, get feedback on our spec. We recognize, Commissioner, that you are correct. We need competition. We get a better price with competition. We want to attract major car manufacturers. You've provided me with information as a contact. I've made sure that our procurement officer, embracing a single point of contact, that he's already done outreach to make sure we are getting as many, proposers as possible. We think the process that we're proposing here with a request for proposal will actually enhance competitiveness, bring in more car manufacturers that are able to then talk to us about their particular car and what the assets are in that car. I do want to point out that we are faced with Buy America requirements, and we are faced with New York content requirements. And we want to encourage manufacturers to come to New York State. We want to encourage them to be part of the New York State economy. They need to make a commitment to having a plant here in New York State. We want to, I'm going to take a moment and applaud both Kawasaki and Bombardier for making those investments here in New York State. And we welcome other car manufacturers to come in and do the same thing. We want manufacturing to remain in New York. We think it's an important part of economic development in New York State.
I couldn't agree more with you on the idea of Buy New York and Buy America. My point is this. We have got to reach out. There are dozens of people who manufacture this stuff. Not dozens. There are a significant number of people who manufacture cars. The question I have is we appear not to have reached out to them in the past. We seem to have the same suspects all the time. And as a result, we pay a fortune, in my view, overpay a fortune, by not having competition.
So let me just clarify one point. With regard to when you look back over the last 20 years of our car procurements in Metro North, the biggest ones were Kawasaki and Bombardier. But in fact, we've had 3 other car builders who have built cars for us, or rebuilt locomotives and cars for us. So at this point, we have on our property probably 6 or 7 different manufactured vehicles that operate on Metro North across our different territories. So we've not simply had those 2. So just as a point of information, Chuck, so you have an understanding of the last, series of procurement.
Let's do it this way. I think it's important. I think we all agree that we'd like to get new options. Whether they come to conclusion or not, we'll go from there. But we want to give more people opportunities. So we would ask the two railroad presidents to provide the committee with information as to outreach and what kind of response you get back in the next couple of months, because it's very important to ensure that as many companies as possible have the opportunity to bid. We can't make them bid. We can only give them the information, provide them, tell them what we're doing, show them how important it is to provide, for manufacturing in New York, and then see what happens. But I think it would be important for the committee to understand how all of that works in that regard.
We would be happy to do that. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not trying to simplify. Oh, Pat, you were ahead. No. I can't believe you even hear, Pat.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even, this must be a double of you. You have so much to do. I'm in shock you're here. But anyway, that's not why I'm speaking. But
I hope there was a compliment.
It's a huge compliment. Absolutely. I read the papers. I'm not trying to simplify this thing, but we are such a massive customer. Don't you think if there were alternate vendors, Chuck, don't you think they would reach out to us?
No, I think our job is to make sure that the pool is great. According to APTA, there are a number of others. There are others that provide it in Europe. We don't send them bid packages. We publish ads, for example, in the New York Post. They don't read the New York Post as a former director of the Post.
Chuck, if there's a big manufacturer,
they don't read the Post.
One at a time.
If there's a big manufacturer in Europe, for example, and we are such a huge customer, and this is such an international world right now. It's not like going to the corner and buying a New York Post. It's going online and looking at the bid section. Wouldn't you think, maybe I'm crazy, that these European companies are looking online? And
I can answer that. If a provider of equipment or the like believes that somebody has a lock on all of the work, they're not going to bother to bid.
Okay.
And that's my concern.
Okay,
When you have 20 years of Kawasaki, Siemens isn't going to try.
I agree. Okay. So it's a perception kind of thing. Okay.
Well, we will work hard. I'm sorry, go ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah, sorry, Mitch, 2 points, just being realistic about it. In the short term, what we could do is take the MTA's buying power and the buying power of other transit manufacturers in the region and try first to increase the percent of value-added work done in New York. None of the other competing manufacturers are in the next week or month going to move their plants to New York State. That is a long-term goal. Well, what we can do is use moral suasion and our buying power to increase the amount that is manufactured here as opposed to assembled. We'll take it. Second thing I just want to note is that the governor's office, Chairman-designee Loda, myself, Nuria, and others in the administration are very focused on this opportunity. The governor's been clear. The mandate is jobs, 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 and expanding transit manufacturing opportunities in the state, throughout the state, is a real priority of the administration. Thank you.
Well, John?
Thank you. It's a good discussion. I agree with Pat and the others. But the one thing, as we do reach out and as you formulate your RFP questions, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I'll wait if you're...
No, go ahead.
Okay. I have a lot of experience in responding to RFPs. And I do note that sometimes the questions or issues presented in RFPs are obviously for the betterment of one or two of the known bidders, or perhaps not appropriate, or perhaps some things that should be there are left out. As a board member, how can I get comfortable? Of course, at the end, I'm not going to come in and weigh in, and I don't want to interfere in the interview process, but how can I get comfortable that the RFPs themselves are being formulated with a broad perspective and something that I would consider fair?
We would be happy to present the RFP to you at a working group. We invite any board members on this committee who would like to review the RFP. We'd be happy to give you a work session on it. I will also email you on the RFEI process. We've already had, tremendous good response from the industry. A lot of excitement about us going forward with this multi-year procurement.
Well, it's massive. I would think
yes.
there'd be excitement.
Right.
But
So we would be happy to share that with you.
I would like that very much, but I would like it before it's presented to me as being done.
The car procurement process is a very long process, so you
Right.
will have plenty of opportunity. In fact, in January, I'd be happy to schedule a session with you just to update you on the status of the RFP.
Great, I would love that, thank you.
Good.
I think that would be very helpful.
Okay,
Count me in.
very good, thank you.
Any other discussion on the competitive railroad procurements? Motion to approve? Second. All in favor? Okay, there are no ratifications. Metro North, non-competitive.
Okay, so we have 6 procurements this month. We have 2 non-competitive. Let me just get my page, I'm sorry. We have
Page 82.
82, great, thanks. Yeah, 2 small non-competitives. These are both OEMs. One is Applied System, the other is Trans-Tech. We also have 2 competitive procurements this month. One is for Powell Electric, which is for DC substation equipment. This is as part of our rehabilitation of our substations on the Harlem and Hudson line. And then the other one is with Avalon, which is a multi-agency procurement for exterminating services. Metro North had the lead, and we did this for all 4, I believe it's all 4 different agencies. One agreement using the combined buying power of the different agencies to get a new pest management program in place. We also had 2 ratifications. Should I go through them all? Oh, we'll just stop.
Wait.
Stop. Let's do the non-competitive first. John has a question.
Thank you. I have a question on the Powell electrical system.
Sure.
I note in the materials it states that Powell's bid was 8% higher than the Siemens price.
Right.
But Siemens did not meet the criteria. And again, I'm concerned that the criteria were actually fair criteria, appropriate criteria, and not just other than that. And I'm curious, A, and B, did Siemens have a chance to respond? So in other words, was this really competitive?
Anthony, can you address that?
The criteria was noted on page 88. All the selection criteria in the RFP is set up so every one of the prospective proposals can respond in a fair and competitive way. The main criteria in order of importance was obviously the technical capability. Siemens' technical capability was much less of Powell's. Their price would have been tremendously higher when we did our analysis than Powell. So they were given the opportunity to respond.
Okay, but I do note that the language on whatever page you want, including page 88, is a little bit vague. The combination of their technical capability, manufacturing capability, best met the stated criteria. I mean, not that I'm a criteria expert. I'm just trying to elicit whether or not it was truly fair and appropriately competitive. That's all. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, following up on Commissioner Ballin's point, my question is, after you found that the 2 proposals didn't quite match, did you get back to Siemens and ask them to match it? And did they say they wouldn't, or what?
They could not respond to it, and their number would have been tremendously higher, over $1 million more than Powell.
Okay.
We have that in the record, and that's always
That's
part
good.
of the record.
Mr. Chairman, would you permit me a question concerning this Walgreens Take Care proposal? Going back, I didn't see it until just now.
What page are you on?
That's on page 79.
Go right ahead.
Are we there yet?
Wait, did you need a vote first on?
Well, let's do the non-competitive vote first, and then we'll go back.
Okay.
Okay? So we don't... Second on non-competitive, all in favor? Okay. Okay. Now, Chuck, you had a question on page 79? Go ahead.
I went online because this one intrigued me since healthcare is an area I'm involved in. The outfit that has been selected is a portion of Walgreens drugstores. And my questions are the following. Among the things that the contract is supposed to take care of These and I'm quoting from page 79, these non-treatment centers provide accident, sick, medical examinations, pre-employment medical examinations, illness, disability, case management. If you take a look at the online for Take Care and Walgreens, you find they don't provide any of those services. In addition, there is a question that I had that was answered by email, thanks to Charlie Monheim. This RFP required that there be physicians available, and again, their online indicates that they have nurses and nurse practitioners, but no physicians. And you tell me that they now are providing some physicians. My question really is this: does this thing really provide an equivalent to where a hospital like Beth Israel is prepared to provide full range of service, and Walgreens is prepared to do what is apparently a heck of a lot less?
I want to assure you that there are physicians. This is a firm that we are familiar with. They have done medical services for us. It was a process that we went through to get response from different proposers. We examined this very closely. We are satisfied with the level of service they do provide. I'm unfamiliar with what Walgreens proposes in its, retail stores. But this is not a retail store operation. This is truly a medical facility where we do get pre-employment and employment examinations as they're required, and they've met all of our requirements. And it is cost effective.
All right. We need a vote on the Metro North competitive. Motion made, second. Any other questions on that? All in favor? Aye.
Okay.
Ratifications, Howard.
Yeah, we just had two ratifications. One was for an emergency repair for a locomotive. The second was for an emergency repair at a substation. And I'd ask your approval.
Any questions on either of those two items? Jim? Noah? Second. All in favor?
All right, thank you.
Capital construction. Inside access, there are no competitors. One competitor.
We have actually two competitive procurement. David, can you go over them, please?
Capital construction has two competitive procurements this month, which totaled $76.2 million. The first item requests board approval of a modification to a personal service contract in the amount of $67.4 million in order to continue program and construction management services for the East Side Access Project and in support of other capital construction projects through December 31st, 2012. This request will increase the board-approved amount of this contract of $395.9 million by a total of $35.7 million, as the rest of the $67.4 million that we are requesting has already been approved but has not yet been allocated under this contract. It has been capital construction's practice in the past to always come to the board and ask for approval of the next option period under this contract, even though we have not exceeded the previously approved board amount of $395.9 million. The second item requests board approval for a modification to the East Side Access General Engineering contract in the amount of $8.8 million for additional design changes and to increase the task order budget for future repackaging and rebaselining efforts.
I just have a quick question on the URS. Is this consistent with what has been anticipated, and this is consistent with an existing contract, just upping the amount because of additional previously contemplated work, or is it something else?
This is a contract that was awarded in 1998 to Bechtel URS. At one point, Bechtel pulled out, and URS remained on the contract. And yes, it was anticipated because of the way this contract is being, it has been extended a number of times, and we are not. We'll be looking next time around to come to the board with a number that once we know how long the job is going to take exactly, we'll be able to actually come up with one number, so we won't come again.
I've got no substantive objection, but I'm going to abstain on both of these. Thanks.
Somebody has that for the record?
I appreciate that.
Okay. Any other questions on either of these two items? Motion to approve. Second. All in favor? Okay. All of the reports are in the, does anybody have any questions about any of the reports that they want to bring up? In the materials?
May I just note for the record that we have the same suspects on Long Island in terms of standees and a problem. And I think for the record we ought to note that unless the townships don't care that their various constituents have to stand all the way into the city, they really ought to get their act together to make it possible for places like Huntington to avoid having to have this enormous number of standees. The onus is on them, not on us.
Well, just one. Yeah, just one note about the Huntington branch and a couple of the Montauk branch seem to be laggards in improving performance. I mean, the other lines from 2010 to 2011 show improvement, but I think there's a couple of others who I'm concerned with. Especially Huntington evening service, peak evening. I brought that up in the past. I just wondered if there's a strategy to deal, or if there could be a strategy to deal with that.
The Huntington issue is exactly what, the commissioner just addressed. It is very constrained there to make that connection because that's the end of the electric territory.
Right. Well, even in the evening?
It
Okay.
can be more difficult in the evening because you're sending it all out.
Sending it far out to
Right.
the back.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?